Hello, everybody. It's Chris Devins from the licensed loan officer in the state of Illinois. And this is the next episode of Senior Hour. This is number 3. And today we're going to talk about debt management. As you know, this show addresses topics related to seniors specifically. It's something that I'm doing as a community service. So for the first part of the show, I'm going to talk to you about debt, what it is, how to manage it, how to manage debt collectors, and other issues related to debt. And then specifically, we won't be talking too much about mortgages and things like that. But later on, I will wrap up some reverse mortgage questions that people have asked me. And then also, I will have a guest because I've been getting a lot of questions from people who speak other languages. Polish people have been calling me and asking me about the reverse mortgage and about foreclosures, and also the Latin community has been calling. So I'm going to address tonight, I have a guest who will address the Polish community tonight. So stick around later and you'll see her. Her name is Anya Lazinski. Okay, so as I said, the first thing I'm going to talk about today is we're talking about debt management. So, you know, a lot of people call me and they ask me, they say, Chris, they seem to be confused about what they should do when they are hassled by debt collectors. So this first, I'm going to talk about responding to debt collectors. So I'll talk to you about what debt collectors can and cannot do to you. And then there's some ways to stop debt harassment. And then there's some illegal debt collection practices and what you can do about them, okay? So the first thing is that I need to let you know is that you don't have to let debt collectors push you around. It's the job of bill collectors to persuade you to pay the wrong bills and to get you to refinance bills and take money out of your home and pay bills that when you shouldn't do that. You're actually taking debt that is secured by nothing or unsecured debt and transferring it into secured debt. That's not what you should do. So debt collectors are experts at making threats about what might happen to you if you don't pay, but the truth is that legally, collectors cannot legally do much to harm you. Let me tell you about some of the things that debt collectors can do to harm you, and then you'll see. One thing they can do is they can simply stop doing business with you. For example, a credit card issuer can cancel your card, or your dentist to whom you owe money, he might refuse to let you receive more treatment. Usually, though, there are other merchants who will offer you the same services and goods that you're getting from the current ones. So the threat of stopping business with you is only serious where you can't get, there's no other available services in your area. So if you live in a rural area and your doctor is the only doctor in town, yes, it's crucial that you get square with your doctor because you may need him. But if you live in a large city, there's not a lot they can do. They can simply stop doing business with you and you can find another doctor, for instance. They can also report your default on whatever agreement you have with them, a credit card or some other type of agreement. They can report that default to a credit reporting agency, of course, and that can result in a negative consequence on your credit. That's something that they can do. But remember, we're discussing what exactly debt collectors can do so that you people understand, because a lot of people are unduly afraid of their debt collector, okay? The reason that one thing is that the credit card or the credit collection company is usually bluffing all the time. So if a creditor is if a creditor is one that reports regularly to a credit agency, they're already reporting and your credit is already being affected. So there's not much they can do besides what they're doing. So again, they can stop doing business with you. They can report the default to a credit reporting agency. Now, another thing they can do is, this is the threat that worries people the most, they can begin a lawsuit to collect the debt. But there are 4 reasons why the threat of a lawsuit is far less serious than you would imagine, okay? The first reason is that it's hard to predict whether a particular creditor will actually sue on a past debt. It's expensive to take you to court, and usually if you have a debt of, under $1,000 or so, it just simply doesn't make sense for them to hire an attorney who's going to cost more to collect the debt. Second, if the creditor does decide to sue you, you have a right to respond and explain why you haven't paid or why the money isn't owed. So that's why, that's another reason why a lawsuit isn't so frightening. Third, even if the creditor does pursue the lawsuit and eventually wins, the worst that can happen is that a court judgment will be entered against you. You will not automatically be in contempt of court for failure to pay the judgment. The judgment only gives the creditor the legal right to try to seize your property or to garnish your wages or seek a court order requiring payments. So, fourth, if your judgment proof, that is, if you have nothing to fear from these special collection techniques, your judgment proof if all your assets and income are protected by law from a creditor trying to enforce a court judgment. There are various ways, and we'll get into that later on in my series of videos. I will get into things like asset protection and other issues. Debt collectors really cannot legally take other actions to collect on unsecured debts. So a creditor, if it chooses to, it can stop doing business with you, it can report a default, it can sue you, but it can't seize your wages or property before the creditor has obtained a court judgment, nor can it send you to jail or anything like that. The basic rule about debt collectors, unless they work for your landlord, your utility company, your mortgage holder, or any other secured creditor, that is a creditor that has interest in actually has something that they're holding of value or can affect you in some way. Most creditors, all these credit cards, they have no bite behind all of their bark. So if you want, I actually want to proceed and start with some definitions. I just want to tell you the creditor is the person to whom you owe money. You will often hear me referred to creditor, or you might hear me referred to the bank. This is the person or the issuing credit card bank, or in the case of reverse mortgages, this is the person, the entity that holds the mortgage. Now, there are different ways to stop debt collection harassment, okay? One thing you can do is you can head off harassment before it happens, all right? When you have more bills than you can afford to pay, obviously you can't pay all of them. While you should pay your most important bills first, you should not totally ignore all of your other bills by just throwing them in the garbage or whatever. Creditors won't forget about a bill just because you failed to respond. So they'll hire a collection agency or someone, and these people won't be very nice in the methods that they choose to collect the debt. To avoid this, before the creditor refers the debt to a collection agency, call up the creditor and explain your situation. Contact the creditor that's most important to you. And then retailers, banks, finance companies, they usually have in-house collection sections. And if you can avoid the transfer of the debt to that department of the bank or the mortgage company, that would be good. So try to call ahead and talk to them and explain your situation before the debt gets out of control. Remember, we're talking about different ways now to stop debt collection harassment. Okay, you can also, assuming you failed in explaining the situation to the creditor,